Good morning, children. Today we are doing expansion and consolidation of the British rule in India. Chapter covers two aspects of British rule in India. One is expanding or increasing British territory, that is expansion. And second is strengthening of the acquired territory, that is consolidation. If we analyze the process of annexation of Indian states by the East India Company, from 1757 to 1857, certain key aspects emerge. The company rarely launched a direct military attack on an unknown territory. Instead, it used a variety of political, economic, and diplomatic methods to extend its influence before annexing an Indian kingdom. Between 1757 and 1857, various governor generals of the British East India Company made consistent efforts to expand and consolidate the British rule in India. The state of Mysore, the Marathas, Sindh and Punjab were defeated in military showdowns, after which the system of subsidiary alliance was imposed on them. Awadh was incorporated into the British Empire on the pretext of misgovernment by its own Nawab. Some of the states were annexed by using the policy of the doctrine of lapse adopted by Lord Dalhousie in 1856. Subsidiary alliance. According to the terms of this alliance, Indian rulers were not allowed to have their independent armed forces. They were to be protected by the company but had to pay for the subsidiary forces that the company was supposed to maintain for the purpose of their protection. If the Indian rulers failed to make the payment, then the part of the territory was taken away as a penalty. The company resorted to direct military confrontation when it saw a threat to political or economic interests. This can be illustrated with the case of the southern Indian state of Mysore. Anglo-Mysore War. Mysore had grown in strength under leadership of powerful rulers like Hyder Ali and his famous son Tipu Sultan. Both these rulers had established a close relationship with the French in India and modernized army with their help. The British saw Hyder and Tipu as ambitious, arrogant and dangerous rulers who had to be controlled and crushed. Four wars were fought with Mysore. First, in 1767 to 69, 1780 to 84, third, 1790 to 92, and last in 1799. Only in the last battle of Srirangapatnam did the company ultimately win a victory. Tipu Sultan was killed defending his capital. Mysore was placed under the former ruling dynasty and a subsidiary alliance was imposed on the state. Anglo-Maratha War. From the late 18th century, the company also sought to curb and eventually destroy Maratha power. Marathas were divided into many states under different chiefs belonging to dynasties such as Scindia, Holkar, Gayakwad, and Bhosle. These chiefs were held together in confederacy under Peshwa, who became its effective military and administrative head based in Pune. With their defeat in the Third Battle of Panipat in 1761, the Marathas' dream of ruling from Delhi was shattered. The Marathas were subdued in a series of wars. In the first war, that ended in 1782 with the Treaty of Salbai, there was no clear victor. The Second Anglo-Maratha War was fought on different fronts, resulting in British gaining Odisha and some area of Agra and Delhi. Finally, the Third Anglo-Maratha War of 1817 to 19 crushed Maratha power. Annexation of Sindh and Punjab, Afghanistan. In the late 1830s, the company became worried about Russia. It imagined that Russia might expand across Asia and enter India from the northwest. Driven by this fear, they fought a prolonged war with Afghanistan between 1838 and 1842 and established indirect company rule there. Sindh. Sindh was located on the route to Afghanistan. It was taken over in 1843. Next in line was Punjab. Punjab was a buffer between the British, Indian Empire and Afghanistan. But the presence of Maharaja Ranjit Singh held back the company. After death of Maharaja Ranjit Singh in 1839, two prolonged wars were fought with the Sikh kingdom. Ultimately, in 1849, Punjab was annexed. The final wave of annexation occurred under Lord Dalhousie, who was the Governor General from 1848 to 1856. He devised a policy, the doctrine of lapse. The doctrine declared that if an Indian ruler died without a male heir, his kingdom would lapse, that is, become part of the company territory. Satara, Sambalpur, Udaipur, Nagpur, and Jhansi were annexed under this policy. Now we will see different steps taken for the consolidation of the British Empire in India. For the British East India Company, the expansion of the British Empire in India necessitated elaborate and systematic organization of the administration. By 1773, the company had acquired power not only in Bengal but also in Bombay and Madras. However, the Parliament of Britain viewed the East India Company's activity in India with suspicion. The British Parliament in 1773 enacted the Regulating Act for the better management of the affair of the East India Company in India. According to this act, the presidencies controlled by the company had to be ruled by the governors. The supreme head of the administration was the Governor General of Bengal. The governors of Bombay and Madras were made subordinate to Governor General of Bengal. The British government had to appoint a council of 4 men to advise and control the Governor General. A Supreme Court was established at Fort William in Calcutta. In 1773, the company established a capital in Calcutta, appointed its first governor, Warren Hastings, and became directly involved in governance. The three main pillars of the British East India Company administration were civil services, army, and police. Civil services. The principal figure in an Indian district during the company rule was the collector. He performed two main functions: collected the revenue and other taxes, maintained the law and order in his district with the help of judges, police officers, and darogas. His office were referred to as collectorate. It became the main source of power and authority at this level. Colonial rule in India brought in some new ideas of administration and reform, but its power rested in its military strength. From 1746 onwards, the recruitment of Indian sepoys had begun, but the officer rank posts were essentially given to the British. In the early 19th century, the British began to develop a uniform military culture. Soldiers were increasingly subjected to European-style training, drill, and discipline that regulated their life far more than before. Police. Lord Cornwallis created the police force in 1792. The new police system helped the British government in reducing major crimes, and it was later used effectively to silence the popular nationalistic voice. The district was divided into thanas, and in each thana a daroga was posted. He was subordinate to the chief district police officer. In villages, police function was assigned to chowkidars. Judicial organization. In 1772, a Diwani and a Faujdari Adalat was set up at district level. The Diwani Adalats were presided over by the district collectors. The Faujdari Adalats were presided over by Indian judges assisted by muftis and qazis. Appeals from these adalats could be made to Sadar Diwani Adalat and Sadar Nizamat Adalat at Calcutta. The Supreme Court, established at Calcutta by the Regulating Act of 1773, had a Chief Justice and 3 other judges. The Supreme Court held its proceedings on the basis of English law, whereas the Sadar Diwani and Sadar Nizamat Adalats operated on the basis of Indian law. Sometimes it led to a serious conflicts between the two courts. Lord Cornwallis tried to remove the defects from the above judicial organizations through a series of reforms known as Cornwallis Code. According to it, a new post called district judge was created to preside over the district civil court. The Charter Act of 1833 delegated the power of framing laws to the Governor General in Council. Based on the recommendation of the First Law Commission, the Indian Penal Code was framed, which came into effect in 1860. The two principles of the judicial administrations were rule of law and equality before law. Thank you. Given meaning of few words, other than these, find the meaning of the difficult words you don't know. Homework. Read chapter 3 of history and find meaning of difficult words. Please don't skip it. Second, try to understand the chapter with the help of Extra Marks app and given study material. Find out the answers of the exercise given at the end of the chapter. The correct answers will be sent next class. Thank you.